Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. Well, it's been a week of really warm weather. Until today, that is. We had a cool change overnight and some rain, and today is supposed to be much cooler than it has been for the last few days. What we've been experiencing here on the farm is really still days, especially in the afternoon, and there's been some burning off, some controlled burning to reduce some of the leaf litter and stuff like that underneath the ground now that it's safe to burn. So so that's been happening in the state forests quite close by, and then the smoke in the afternoons has sort of drifted down into the valley where we are, and it's felt really dark and cloudy, and if you're inside it feels like it's about to rain outside. When you go outside it was like 29 degrees, so it was really quite odd and horrible, and you could smell that smoke smell, which kind of starts to put a bit of panic in you. But then you've got to think, no, it's okay, I know that it's just a burn off, there hasn't been anything on the emergency app, because we didn't really experience anything like that this past summer, thank goodness, because 2020 was a terrible bushfire season. So 2021 has been nothing like that, which has been really great, and that's why they've been able to do these controlled burns to hopefully prevent something happening again in 2022, because we're having so much rain and so much sun that everything is growing so much. I went on a really nice walk in our bush this week one morning when it was a little bit cooler, and there were so many butterflies. It was just incredible. So hard to capture though, because they flit around really quickly, but they were just everywhere, and a really good sign that the environment is quite healthy. My mum started a new project on the farm this week that I'm pretty sure we'll all end up playing some part in and helping with. What she started is clearing the garden along the old driveway. We put the new fence up in that space, and when we did that we discovered there's a piece of concrete edging along that piece of garden, which my pa obviously put in at some point, and over the years the garden has grown bigger and got overgrown, and dirt has covered up that little concrete edge. So she's decided that she's going to cut back all the really big plants. There's some really big camellias and other and rose bushes, things that have been there for quite a while, but they've just been let to go wild. So if we prune them back, they will hopefully regenerate and look really beautiful again. And then also take out all of the weeds and undergrowth, and maybe put in some smaller plants and flowers in around, and mulch the area and turn it back into a really beautiful lining for the driveway. So she started and already pulled out quite a lot. There's already quite a lot on the bonfire pile once it's dried that we need to burn, and then she will continue down, and I think we will help with reinforcing the fence, because I think part of the fence is only being held up by some of the bigger overgrown trees, and help to uncover the rest of the concrete, see how far down it goes, and then decide on some new plantings and keeping it maintained once it's all done. This week I spent quite a bit of time dyeing. I did some custom orders. I dyed up some dusty rose because I wanted to make some for myself and to be able to do a sample. And then I also dyed a new colour that was a suggestion by Mary from Wow Crochet Designs, and she was inspired by this couch. She said, have you ever done a colourway that is inspired by these colours? And I was like, no, but that's actually a really great idea. So I decided to try and recreate those colours. And I used this a very similar technique to the one that I used for the Mistake skein that I dyed up a few weeks ago now. Slightly different. I didn't put vinegar into the dye solutions straight away. I wanted it to not set as quickly. And as I poured each of the colours on, I was pressing it down into the water and onto the yarn so that there was a bit more of an even spread. And then once the dyes were across the yarn, I then popped each of the skeins into a hot pot of water with vinegar so that it would set the colour. And I am so pleased with how it came out. And obviously Mary was pleased too, because I posted a picture on Instagram of the yarn rinsing, and she was wanting to buy them straight away. So I no longer have them here. They're gone already, my 4 skeins of DK that I dyed up. And you might see them on her channel at some point in the future. I do, however, have 2 samples that I knit. I remembered this time to throw in a little bit of sock yarn so that I could knit up my samples. I have to keep remembering to do that every time I experiment with a new colour or dye up a colour that I have forgotten to do one in the past. So, here is it knit up. And here it is in crochet. So I am in love with this. I'm really, really happy with it. I think it is a really good interpretation of the colour, especially when it's done in the sample. I think the hardest part was actually coming up with the name. I was really happy with how I was able to create brand new colours to get the look that I wanted. But then trying to figure out a name was quite hard. I was like, flowers lounging, lounging flowers, looking up different words for armchairs and chaise lounges and all sorts of things. And eventually it came to me. So this is Sitting Pretty. It is now available as a dyed to order in my shop already, so you can grab it on either a DK or sock weight base and have it dyed to order. I think that I'll probably dye up some more and just have it ready in the shop. So if you like the look of it, check that out now on the website. The nice weather and the Easter long weekend meant some prolonged time spent sitting out on the deck knitting and listening to an audiobook, and I just sat and relaxed, and it was really lovely. And although I did spend quite a bit of time, I don't feel like I have a lot of knitting that I can show you. So I did the crochet and knitting of the sample squares that you've already seen. But then I have the test knit that I've been working on. First, I started by doing a couple of little swatches of the 2 colours. So the apricot with the Orchids Deck the Treetops as the contrast, and then Orchids Deck the Treetops with apricot as the contrast, so I could decide which way that I wanted to make it. So I've gone with apricot as the main colour and orchids as the contrast. And I've started knitting on the project. I did go up a needle size from what the pattern calls for. The pattern is in a single yarn and I'm using applied yarn, so that could be where the difference comes in, or my knitting could just be tighter. So the neck opening just didn't fit. I kind of did a little bit and went, oh, this doesn't look right. It just didn't have enough stretch, because there are increases in the neck area, and I think I was just knitting a little bit too tight, so there was no stretch to get that over my head. So ripped it out, started again. It now fits over my head, and I have started on some of the patterning, and it's looking really pretty, but obviously I can't share that just yet. I did finish my latest pair of pink and grey striped socks, even to the point that the ends are woven in. These are the ones I did the slip stitches for the colour changes, so that I can tell that they are a pair, and they're quite long so that I can wear them in gumboots. Now I haven't cast on another plain pair of socks at this point because I want to use my Addy Crazy Trio needles on my Flamingo Lane socks. I'm gonna try using those because I think it might help with the floats a little bit more than doing Magic Loop, where there's a lot of moving of stitches and sometimes the connection between the two kind of gets a bit far away. So I've had a couple of false starts with those. I'm just struggling to get the tension right. I think once I get into the groove of it, it is going to be okay. And I do want to 100% get these done. Again, I need some quiet time, but I have started again on the color work. I have given up on the twisted rib at the start. I've just gone with regular rib because I think I ended up having to re-knit it about 5 or 6 times because I pulled back and then couldn't get my needles back on properly because they're small stitches, and I was dropping and couldn't figure out what row I was up to, so it was easier to just rip it out and start again. But I couldn't face doing twisted rib again, and I think maybe not doing the twisted rib might actually help with getting the floats good from the start, because the twisted rib was pulling in quite a lot, whereas regular rib, it's still stretched, like bunched up, but it's not quite as tight looking as the twisted rib was. So the starting point for the knitting is about the same as the cuff. We'll see. I don't know if that is a thing or not, but yeah, I've started again with the color work. I'm being really careful with my floats. I'm gonna try, if I can, not catching my floats quite as often. I'm gonna leave them unless they're more than 5 stitches. I was being a little bit over zealous, I think, with my catching of floats, which was kind of tightening everything up. Whereas if I leave them, I should be able to play around and pull the yarn where I need to get that stretch and also make the stitches sit nicely. I don't know, I'm experimenting at this point. We all have the things that we're really good at it and that we're practiced at, and then there's things that we don't do quite so often, or that we're new to. And color work is something that I have not had a ton of experience with, but that I really would like to master. I've also done a little bit more on my radiate. I am almost at the point of splitting for the sleeves. I think I said that last time, and I'm still not quite there yet. Really loving it. It's fairly mindless. I actually took this to unwind this week and I was able to do quite a bit there, and I think I've inspired some people to make their own. I was talking about it and they saw how cool the bright green was looking through the brown, and I also showed them the previous one that I had made, and I think there might be a few people casting one on fairly soon. So I might have to get a hurry on and get mine done before they start beating me to it. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.